let's talk about the nuances with edible cannabis.
I think you got some gummies there, haven't you?
Those are the ones, yeah.
So gummies have got to go next to cannabis for this reason. Yeah, we put them next to the cannabis. And I'm going to say, the problem with gummies, and the problem with all edible cannabis, is if you've taken too much, there's not a lot you can do about it. Whereas if you're smoking a spliff, which someone has put a super strong variant in, then, well, at least you can stop and go and get some fresh air. So that's the advantage of inhaling, is that you can stop inhaling very fast. So about 20 years ago, I decided it was time we started researching, because no one had actually really studied what cannabis did in the brain with brain imaging. So we set up a protocol. We started to do this work. So and the approach for standardizing smoked cannabis is to use a vaporizer, and you vaporize into a bag. It's got a volcano. You vaporize into the bag, a bit like a balloon, but you inhale from the bag, and you get a fixed amount of the vapor. So we bought our standardized cannabis THC from Netherlands. We vaporized in the bag. We got our cannabis experienced volunteers, and we said, "How much are you taking?" Oh, they said, "We're probably taking about 10 mgs a day, 10 mgs a spliff." He said, "Okay, fine." So we filled the balloon up with 10 mgs. They took an inhale, and they all fell over because what we thought they were taking was actually much weaker than it was much weaker what they were taking. So in fact, most people are taking less than they think, which is good. And then there was a Dutch group did a study where they showed that if you kind of didn't knock people out, but made spliffs of different strengths, if a stronger spliff, people would drink more slowly. Sorry, a stronger spliff, people would smoke more. So experienced users titrate to essentially the desired level of intoxication, in the same way as experienced drinkers drink to that level, whereas kids often just gulp too much. So I think, but then there's on the other side you've got the risks of the lung. There's some lung stuff. I think overall I'm going to keep the I'll keep the gummies just where you are, just to the right of the bud. Yeah, okay, good.
It is an interesting one though. I really feel like some more information. I think one of the issues that I've seen with edibles is that they can take a variable amount of time to kick in, and then people are an hour in and they're like, "Give me another gummy."
Yes,
and anyone with any experience is like, "Hold the train, Snoop Dogg. Let's relax here. Like, let's just wait a while."
Yeah,
because they can take like 2 hours to kick in at times, and it is variable.
Full stomach, yeah, exactly. And if they're, I mean, let's be clear. None of these are made by a great scientific process. They're not medicines. They're just sugars with stuff injected into them, I think. And also you've got, the strength thing, that a couple of years ago, wasn't it? These school girls in North London, bought in some gummy bears over the web. And it was ridiculous. I think it's like 100 milligrams in a gummy. That's a crazy dose. So
tranquilizer dose, yeah.
Well, you'd be vomiting as well.
Yeah.
So again, another really important message here. You got to know what you're taking, and if you don't know what you're taking, take half of what you've got or a quarter, because that it's always better to underdose than overdose.
Yes, it would just be so easy to regulate edibles, make really high quality ones, and then produce content and educational information around how to dose properly. Because it would just eradicate so much of the stuff that happens when people are taking it off their dealer and they don't know what to take and they don't really know what they're taking. And I think that's where so much of the issue arises. In general, as been one of the central messages that you've said, is that the issues are on the black market when you don't know what you're getting, and then you don't know how to dose it properly, and all the impurities come in. It's such a solvable problem.
It is absolutely, and we're not making any damn progress. This current government is equally obsessed with cannabis as the previous one, because the press are all equally, the right-wing press are all equally hysterical about it. Yeah, a regulated cannabis market would save lives, save health, and make money because it'd be taxed.
Yeah. When would you guess cannabis is going to be legal in the UK and Ireland? Because it has to happen eventually. All right, it's happening some. We're behind Europe now. It's popping up. Spain, Germany, loads of places in Europe. Like, when would you expect UK and Ireland to catch up?
Well, when the Lib Dems get into power, it might never. I mean, it's there are some topics which you cannot have a rational debate about. But maybe, I suppose, maybe reform. I mean, I don't know what reform's position is. They might actually see the economic arguments might actually switch them, because what the paradox in the States is, it's the more conservatives who are more pro cannabis because they can make money out of it, and they kind of say libertarians as
Yeah.
well. So it's yep, and yeah. So well, I hope in my lifetime, but I'm not betting on it.
I think Trump is reclassifying cannabis in the US at the moment? Is that right? I think
he wants to deschedule it from 1 to 3. Now, a lot of people got
yeah.
confused. A lot of people thought that was up scheduling, but it's down scheduling.
Yeah. Maybe just give a quick overview of exactly what that means, because it's so relevant at the moment.
I think it's about not putting people in prison for I mean, currently you can go to prison for 7 years for a first cannabis offense if you're caught in a state that hasn't legalized it, which is still about a third of the states, more, maybe half, for personal use, or on federal land. So in Washington, D.C., if you sit outside the White House and smoke a spliff, they lock you up. And it used to be mandatory 7 years first offense. If you go across the road into D.C., then it's legal. But you have to know exactly where you are in terms of where the federal, the federal land doesn't look different from other land. But so that all the parks in D.C., I think, are federal lands, and that's quite dangerous. You can't be, you've got to be very careful you're not caught with cannabis there.
It's just completely barbaric. Like, it's
Yes.
just there were so many comments about that as well. I think this was one. What is striking is how strong alcohol lobby is. One of the worst drugs, damaging to your body, known to cause cancer, by far the number one cause of domestic violence, causes millions of deaths globally every year, yet is absolutely politically accepted, socially accepted. And in some countries like Germany, kids as of 14 can publicly drink if accompanied by an adult. And at the same time, psychedelics, weed, ecstasy, labeled as dangerous, harmful, and in most places illegal. I mean, a great comment, but just wild.
And it is the alcohol lobby is the main lobby against the other states that want to move to recreational cannabis, getting it blocked there. And it's almost certainly behind some of the resistance here to change.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it changes quick.